Why not? This is my opportunity to see everyone here. So we B2B SaaS specialize in time tracking and workforce management for large distributed workforce. We are not an AI native company. However, been integrating AI deeply in the problem which we understand, which we have been working on. We are roughly at around 2 mil ARR, and we serve India, just for the context, India, Gulf, and early traction in US. Today I'm going to share some of things what worked for us last year for AI, or even what we tried, what we resisted, and also what did not work. So this is a quick journey which we will go over. Context, we specialize time tracking, workforce management. So environment where we work on this, there's a inherent low trust. Supervisors having lesser visibility with their workforce in industries like construction, facility management, low skill, distributed workforce. So this is the place where time leakage is directly money. It was financial leakage. So it is not abstract productivity or something, it is directly financial leak or a money lost, what kind of a value what we were able to deliver or solve that problem for customers. So what is vertical AI? I'm not going to talk a lot about it. Everyone here knows what it is. But from our lens, briefly, we own problem in one domain, full end-to-end. We can, which is built for particular use case. We have an entire data. We can have, the context. So we build for the outcome and not just for features. So, keeping that philosophy in mind, we started looking at how do we get vertical AI use cases, or, in fact, how do we leverage AI opportunity for ourselves in the domain what we're doing. So when we started talking about AI, this is interesting, when we started first talking about AI early last year, we got two opposite reactions. First one, when we're talking to someone, it was on the line where, one of our largest customer in US, 4,000 workforce, very interesting. We're talking with, we're almost on the verge of, closing the deal, and we're talking with one of the champion. We says, okay, this is CXO meeting. How I'm going to present AI? This is don't talk about it. And it is overused. They were concerned about data. And then another customer, in fact, this was happened multiple times, but then I'm picking two use case, two example. Another customer got completely opposite. That, what's your AI story? It will not get approved if you don't have an AI story in your deck. So, and that was one in US, mid-sized customer, and one of our largest in India. If I take a name, the Compass Group with 50,000 workforce, one of our largest, first ever 100K deal in India. They wanted AI. Now, what happened, the full story there, that probably we'll see if we have time permits, we'll talk about it. But the idea is, what we realize is, when we have opposite reactions like this, it's not a problem of technical challenge or what you build in AI, right? There's a problem of positioning, trust, or rather, what problem we solve, what is our right value to fit in. So there were a lot of ambiguity, right? Enterprise were not very keen to use some of the things, how do you use the data and things like that. So what all ideas we tried, right? So in the domain, as I keep highlighting, saying what we deeply understand, we realize that there are multiple areas, adjacent problems. So we pick something like compliance auditor, agentic shift scheduler. So these are different areas, standalone AI agents, where we realize that, okay, this looks on paper very interesting opportunity. However, when we did detailed whiteboarding, went through value use case completely, realized that either we were solving partially that use case. When we solve that partially, it will become more complex and there are more handoffs for customer. Or when we don't have a full context, we can't give them accurate results, or decision making is not accurate. So they can't take a full decision. Partial decisions won't help as such. So with that in mind, for example, compliance auditor, it is something, it's a very kind of problem which is a high value problem, as we say in Upekkha, right? So, however, the idea was, but the problem was, if I don't have access to upstream data, even in shift scheduler. If I don't know what impacts the changes of shift for the workforce, if that data access I don't have, I can't take a downstream decisions. And that led us that, okay, let's not write any code. So these are the things which we pivoted right on the whiteboard in, as such. And we, avoided those use cases. And when we started, from there, we started looking at what is something, so, that made us think that let's think about what is the right direction. How do we start with AI here in the, once again, the domain what we're doing. So very first is, before even finding out what is opportunity for us, the very first question we asked ourselves was, what is not changing? Or rather, this too late to say what is not changing. There's nothing anymore, but I say what is going to be least impacted. Let me put it rightly there. So then we know that these are the blocks which are going to be least impacted. Then of course, what is going to change slowly, rapidly. And then we start putting it in a use case and landscape, we realize that what is something, a very high value area where we have a domain understanding already. This was important for us because as soon as we look at changing a problem, forget about domain, even with the adjacent problem. See, changing problem is almost like a new business, right? All of us know, right? As soon as you're a new ICP, new pitch and everything. So we thought, do we have an opportunity to solve the problem better, or rather, something which is unsolvable piece within that problem? Let me put it that way. So, and more importantly, all of us realize that building is easier, faster in AI. But for most of us, even pre-AI, challenges were not in building. Now, of course, building faster iterations has created new opportunities in some sense. But the problems what we had, getting first few customers, ICP, or even what to build, a GTM, those things were majorly a problem even pre-AI or now. That's not going to solve if I build faster. So keeping that in mind, how do we leverage AI? And, and of course, there are some opportunities with the building faster, but in general, right? So then applying AI where we already had context, we knew in terms of, full cycle, that from identity, verification, policies, context, and we have some sort of, control on entire cycle, which is the use case where I say, core use case of ours, time leakage. So this time leakage thing was two important keyword I want to throw here. One is this was painful, of course, very important one. Second, it was recurring. So any inaccuracies in time tracking and in the timesheet management was in the industry where we operate is directly financial leakages. So it can be, those inaccuracies add up. Be it a incorrect clock-ins to, incorrectly booked overtime, underpaid, overly booked time, or how the corrections works, approvals, workflows. So we realized that this is something which we want to, of course, leverage AI there. This was measurable, full data loop available once again as a vertical AI, and we could own the end-to-end ownership. This was more important than anything else, honestly, because if we can't bring that outcome there, it might look interesting for demos for some of the companies who had mandate, let's look for AI, but that's not going to last long. Ultimately, in order to generate the real value and solve that, right? So that's where we implemented something as internally what we call as AI time guard. It is still shaping up. A lot of things to, of course, keep doing on that, but the direction is what we zeroed on and started working and got some results there after going through the journey. So what this means for us and for everyone, as a vertical AI here. So domain knowledge, having that, owning that, problem deeper use case is something is more rewarding. And secondly, theme focus use case. So say I won't say this is right or wrong approach. This is something what we took that approach, that we wanted to pick the existing problem and going deeper and see that where is an opportunity, and there has to be opportunity. If there's no opportunity, try to push AI, it doesn't work anyways, right? So, but as soon as if we go to a newer domain, we did not want to be a first in that domain. It was too much of experiments and things which we didn't want to go through, and there are a lot of AI changes also happening. Being first in the new domain or a new problem is not something we want to do that. And yeah, so ultimately it has helped us to deepen existing strength and not just creating a new direction. Thank you, everyone. This is a bit about how was our last year. Happy to take questions.
So just for context, they're dealing with customers who are very laggard adopters, right? Construction. What is the other one?
Yeah, construction, facility management,
Facility
supply
management.
chain. Yeah.
Like that. These are not like early adopters of tech by any means.
Hi, Ankit, Anirban. We also work in pretty much the same domain.
Interesting.
What is, in your view, when you're talking about people who are laggards in this industry, and you're talking about outcomes relative to features, AI, etc.,
Yeah.
what is the one thing that in your mind kind of completes that transaction, completes that cycle, where they see you as the partner? That's that one thing that you think
In context of AI,
in context of AI or in context of a technical solution to a business outcome, really. How do you think that helps these laggards? I mean, I want to
yeah, so
hear your
I'll answer it
perception.
in two parts. One is if we say talk about technical solution, right? In the sense SaaS or otherwise, how we go as a partner to them. There, for us as a GTM driver, was completely differentiation. As in, we picked up some keywords which they were familiar about, and we started taking bets on those keywords. And this, if I take an example, we earlier we had, whether they were as comfortable on fraud as a word, whether fraud detection, but we started picking that and started seeing response. So as soon as you pick those bold keywords, I will say, if you go try to save, you have to be lucky, otherwise, to get attention. So that's where we got some sort of interest there, and that trust started building. So that's why I say it on a solution part. If I talk about AI, there I would say, since they're laggards, they were no interest as such for AI, but they were interested in how-to part of AI. They said, how are you going to do that? So it was a trust issue, let me put it this way. So if I say, I'm going to use AI to make this happen, they were, all ears to say that, can you tell me how? Or what all things you are going to do? And that is kind of trust issue, and we had to put some data and prove them. Does it answer?
Any other questions? All right.
We have been growing about 55% year on year. We've been changing market, more focusing on US recently. So US is faster growth, but then this lesser in number in terms of around 250K. In total, we are at 2 million.
I'm not sure if you can share, but any information on your pricing model? How do you price for enterprises?
Yeah, this not is such conversation. So we price per user. Our pricing is different for India, Gulf, and for US. We put it as kind of three categories: Gulf and rest of the world. US is per user per month $4, around between 4 to 6. We have different plans there, and which is for the kind of a one use case and the full use case, something like that. So we say time tracking for these particular things with fraud detection built in, and then something what we say is an advanced solution which takes care of helping you set up your policies, the leakages there, the workflows, schedulers, and this highly priced. If I talk about India, is again per user, but we make it up in India with workforce size. Many of our customers will have 10,000, 20,000. Compared to that, in US we'll end with 500 or 1,000, 2,000. So price is not almost exactly 11x difference. With Gulf it is 3x price difference, but it's kind of fulfilled.
And how did you arrive at this?
Okay, offline. He wants to earn more money. So.
Happy to check.
All right. Thank you,
All right,
Ankit.
thank you guys. It was great time.